Hello, my name is David Hagel, and I will be taking you through how to use the peer evaluation template. I'll be doing so based on the assumption that you have updated the survey form for students to complete, and students have actually completed it already. If you don't know how to do these things, more information will be provided in the future. Once you are at the stage of actually completing this form, the first thing you need to do is to open it up to the Key Details tab. Now there are two particular sections that you need to fill in: the General Assessment Details and the Assessment Marking Criteria. This information should be provided in your assessment brief, or if not that, in your unit outline. There's also a third section which contains the group members, but you don't need to do that because the form that you'll import into this document will do that for you. So just to demonstrate how to do it, let's say for argument's sake that you have a subject called Accounting for Management. The subject code for this particular subject is ACC 123. The current term that you're doing it for is Term 1, the February trimester. It's for the year 2020, so the current year. This is the second assessment that has been administered. The actual assignment is called Group Case Study Presentation. And the due date for the task, let's say that it is week 7, Friday, the 25th of March, 2020. Now, if that isn't accurate, it doesn't matter for the sake of doing this, but just make sure that when you fill it in, that the information is all accurate and valid as it should be. As you saw with the way in which I filled in the date, for clarity, include the week first, then followed by the long version of the date. As you saw, the time taken to fill this in was no less than a minute. Was no more than a minute. It would only take you maybe 30 seconds to do. The next part is the assessment marking criteria. So here, using your assessment brief, you would include the criteria because this is what the basis of the form is that students are required to complete as part of the peer evaluation process. Suppose that the assignment, the group case study presentation, had 5 different criteria. The first one is in terms of the information. The second, in terms of the explanation. The third, in terms of delivery. The fourth, in terms of the PowerPoint presentation used. And the last, let's just say it is teamwork. The next thing that you'll do is include the criteria description, which ideally would just be a matter of copy and pasting what you have in your assessment brief. For the sake of this video, I won't fill anything in because it's not used in the other tabs of this particular document. Once you've filled that in, the next thing that you must include is the weightings. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that the information had a weighting of 30%, the explanation had a weighting of 20%, the delivery had a weighting of 20%, and actually let's vary it up. The delivery was weighted 25%, the PowerPoint had a weighting of 15%, and then teamwork had a weighting of 10%. Now, if you go down to the bottom, what you'll have is a total for the weightings you have included, so just make sure that this is 100%. The other thing you might notice is that the table has as much as 7 criteria, and that's been included because with the assignments at ICMS, the maximum amount of criteria that a particular task would have is 7. So this document caters for the maximum. Once you've filled in that information, what you need to do next is to get the survey responses. Now, because I don't have a particular subject myself, I can get it from my forms, but for each of you with your own subjects, you will be provided with a link on Moodle in order to access the forms, in order to access the survey. So in my particular case, and what you'll do will be very similar, I click on the survey, and as you can see, you've got the actual survey itself with more information gone through in other videos. What we're more interested in is the actual responses, in which for this example, we have 10 different responses. So we click on that. Now we can have a look at the results that's provided here. But in order to be able to use the document, we want this information in Excel form, so we can go to the Open in Excel option provided here, and then we can open up the resulting document. Now, for those of you who aren't Excel savvy, so don't have a lot of experience with Excel, don't worry, you don't actually have to do anything too complex in order to use the document. The complex part was what I needed to do to create the document in the first place. All you need to do at this point is to click on Enable Editing, go to this triangle at the top left-hand side, so you select all of the cells, then press right-click and select Copy. So basically, all the information from this document has been copied. The key thing is that it doesn't matter how many students have been involved, or what your criteria is, or anything like that. The method for this step is exactly the same. So now that we've copied it, we want to go over to our document and click on the Forms Document tab. And we want to basically paste this information in. To do so effectively, go to where the A1 cell, right-click, and press Paste. So as you can see, everything pasted in, there were no issues whatsoever. If you're given a prompt that doesn't allow you to actually be able to paste it in, it may be because the tab has been protected. So if I go to the Forms document and right click, it hasn't been protected, so we have that as an option. But suppose that it was protected. All you need to do is to go to the Forms document, right click, and go to Unprotect Sheet. Once you've done that, you'll repeat the process as mentioned before, so go to the other file, copy, and then paste it in, and you should have no issues. Now, from an Excel perspective, that is the most complex thing that you need to do. If we go back to the key details, it looks like that everything is the same, and most of it is, but what we can do now is we can actually select a particular group and go through the process in order to be able to get the feedback and the marks for each of the group members. So if we go to group name, select the cell next to it, and click the drop-down box, it's empty. If we go up to the top, you'll notice that there are different group names. And don't worry about the fact that it's duplicated. If you press any of them, it will generate the results all the same. Suppose that we particularly wanted to give the results for the Warriors group. By selecting that, it has automatically generated the group members. So we have group member 1 being Richard R, group member 2 being Sam S, and group member 3 as being Terry T. In terms of the group members and in terms of the list, what you might notice is that they're listed alphabetically, so just make sure that your survey does have all group members listed in alphabetical order. Okay. So we're focusing on the Warriors, and we want to see how each individual did, so we can allocate them an individual mark and their feedback as appropriate. The last thing that we need to do with this particular tab is to give them a group mark for their assessment task, and let's just say, for argument's sake, that this group did a decent job and they got 68%. Okay. So in going through the other tabs that we have, form documents we've used, we don't need to worry about it again. Description of ratings just tells you what each possible rating actually means. So a student who gave a rating of 5 said that the achievement of the particular criteria was down outstandingly. If 1 was given, then it was a poor effort, and so on and so forth. Now, if we click on group member 1, what you'll notice is that we've got information generated here. And this information has been automatically generated. What it actually includes is the survey contributions made by the first group member, so Richard R. You'll notice as well that it's got all the information about the subject included. It's got the 5 different criteria, and the other 2 is just left blank. And it's got results for each of the group members, an overall result, as well as comments being made. So just to clarify, this particular page includes the survey answers that Richard R gave about himself and about other group members. At the end, so Richard R, for instance, he thought he did a pretty good job in most instances, which results in an overall mark of 71%, and he gave an explanation in which he found the task challenging, but he did his best. Comments have been left about the other group members, and down the bottom there's a comment about the group overall. The same information has been provided about what Sam S said about everyone, and what Terry T said about everyone, including himself. Now this group only had 3 group members, so that means that group member 4, it's left blank, which is fine. Group member 5, again blank, which is fine. And group member 6 is also blank, so no issues with that at all. Okay. The next lot of tabs provides the information for the particular student. So, for instance, with group member 1, these are all the results and the comments, actually it's just the results, for Richard R, the first group member, and this is used in order to calculate the average, which is then used in order to work out the result by accounting for what the other group members said about Richard R. This will be used when it comes to working out how their mark is scaled compared to their peers. So similar for Sam S, group member 2, and Terry T, group member 3, and if there were more group members, then they'd be included as well. So the last and arguably the most important section is the individual marks tab. So this is where the information for students have been provided and can be used in order to give the final marks. So the mark, it was originally worth 68%. This provides the peer scores in terms of the peer evaluation form that was completed. These are used in order to determine how the marks are scaled. And then the individual mark for each student is found by multiplying the group mark by the scaled mark. So in this particular case, Richard R and Sam S both got 68, a mark of 68, whereas Terry T, possibly the leader, got a scaled mark of 95. Below that, you'll notice that there have been comments made, and there's group comments for what each person thought about the group in general, as well as individual comments. Now the individual comments can be selected for each individual member. So for instance, we have the individual comments for Richard R, Sam S, so on and so forth. So this is how you use the template. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.